When in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby at the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. For the record, Councilwoman Hayter will not be here tonight, and I'm hoping that Councilman Barzalato will make it. This is a work session. At the beginning of our work session, we offer a time for public comment. If anybody would like to speak on any item, whether it's on the agenda or not, they feel free. I'll go around the room once. I also am going to say to the council, the chair of the senior committee is here tonight, Gloria Lane. She would like to talk to the council about some changes, a proposed program that would need some financing from us, and rather than come at a budget hearing, I suggested that she come tonight. So unless somebody has an objection to it, I'd like to put her under to be considered, and unless there's a... Susan, what are you here for? Which one are you here for?
She's here for closed.
For closed, so maybe we'll put her first so she doesn't have to spend too long. Anybody have a problem with that? Okay. So we'll go around the room, and anybody want to speak? No? Okay. So then, as I said, the first item, and I think you, did you give these?
I have one for other council people.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you that a lot of the stuff is data, which is handy to have. A lot of what's in here is data.
Well, that's what we were asked to document our need.
Okay, well, you know, the fact that we have so many senior citizens, I mean, I found it interesting that there's 51 families on food stamps in Tenafly. I know there is need in town, but I think, having reviewed this, the most important piece is about 3 pages. The heading says Job Description, Senior Community Service Coordinator, and it talks about what they're looking for as far as a new position down in Borough Hall. So if you would just take 2 minutes and go through those first 2 pages, and the third page is a proposed budget. And then we can kind of, I think you folks can ask questions, and we can then discuss it amongst ourselves as to where we want to go with this.
Did you find that there was enough data? Because I have more coming.
So to give you a little background on how we got to this point, prior to New Year, with the previous committee, which is basically pretty much the same committee that it is today, other than the fact that I think there was one new person put on who's out of the country right now, one person who did not want to stay on. I met with them, and we talked about what the needs are in our community. And I think it was agreed upon by everybody at this meeting that we would like to expand our services beyond those provided by the senior center. The senior center accommodates, and I'm just referring to Tenafly residents, although a lot of the people that come to the senior center are non-residents, supplies services to people that are mobile, people that can get to the senior center. There's a lot of socialization, which is important, of course, and we all agreed that there's a segment of our population, and Gloria's gone to great lengths to try and define that size of that population, that don't come to the senior center, either because it doesn't appeal to them, or more likely because they don't have a way of getting there. And some of these people, their needs go beyond the fact that they can't get to the senior center. They can't get they can't go shopping, they can't get to doctor's appointments, and I think the consensus of the group, and we'll talk about it later in our budget hearing, was that a van might be a helpful tool to provide transportation services to our seniors. One of the things we talked about at this meeting in December was creating a position where somebody would basically, we would have all of these needs channeled towards them, whether it's an official social worker or a person that's just doing that kind of work, to be able to reach out to people that aren't identifying themselves, and you know, the question becomes exactly what is the job description, exactly how we're going to pay for it. And I know Jewel has mentioned to me, and nobody's more knowledgeable about the services that the county provides, because Gloria has been involved with this area with the county. But we certainly don't want to do anything that's redundant. We don't want to create a service that's already being provided or being offered to our citizens. If they're not taking advantage of it, maybe it's we just need to make sure that they're aware of it. So with that said, I would appreciate if anybody would like to ask any questions or expand on what I just said. Mark, please.
So for clarification, the senior services service coordinator is you're requesting it as a part-time position is what you're recommending?
At this point, we're asking for 20 hours a week.
20 hours a week, that's what this...
Yes, 20 hours a week, right. And may I just start by just saying that we're using the theme of establishing an age-friendly community. This is what's the thing all across America right now. And it improves physical infrastructure around, you know, the development, transportation, housing, walkability, and all of that. Enhancing health, wellness, and social programs, creating more opportunities for work, volunteerism, and civic engagement. And that this is actually a program that would benefit seniors who are not as active as those people who go in and out of the center all the time because they can't get there. And the van, of course, would be a help. There's no doubt about that. But what it would do, and when I talk about volunteerism, I've been in touch with Lynn Weber, who coordinates the Interfaith Committee. I'm in touch with Lynn Tragar as the superintendent of schools, because I feel that there could be some, if they have community service that is needed for the credits at the school, that they could help by maybe taking 2 or 3 names of homebound people and making phone calls and making sure they're all right, that type of thing. Because I did talk to Rob Chamberlain, and he said that his Peace of Mind program, which is the people voluntarily sign up for it. A lot of people don't sign up for it, and there's no one to encourage them to do that. This individual, I see this individual as being sort of a super person, okay? I'm not going to say a superwoman. It could be a man who's a social worker as well. But they would be trying to bring services to the people who are at home. They would be working with the families. You know, if a person is living here and the family is in California, that person, the family in California would have a point person here who could discuss what's happening with the mother or father, because maybe it's time for them to move on to another level of service. Maybe they should be independent in the home. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I think that job description is pretty, we tried to make it pretty straightforward and everything. It's a combination of probably 7 or 8 job descriptions from the state and the county. We picked pieces that we felt that would be helpful in Tenafly, you know, for someone in Tenafly. The data that you have in there comes from the U.S. Census, the Foundation on Aging, the County Division of Senior Services, Pascack Meals on Wheels, and it's interesting to know that there are 10 people on Meals on Wheels in Tenafly. What services are they getting other than Meals on Wheels? What services do they need? This individual hopefully would be able to reach out to them and find out if there are other care services that could come in. Maybe a companion that could come in, maybe somebody to do house cleaning, once or twice a week or whatever. I've talked to Valerie Nicolosi from the Board of Health, because the Board of Health evidently has gotten word through Max about what we're talking about, and they want to see how we can plug in together. Alex Morales from the Board of Social Services, I've been in touch with him, although he doesn't answer his phone. And one of the big problems I'm going to tell you that I hear from everybody, and is that when a lot of the towns decided to let the county take over social services, it sounded like a good deal. It sounded like it was going to work out for everybody. But they have changed their system. And it used to be that if you came to see me, you would be my client, the consumer. And when you had a need or we had to follow up, it would be you and me doing it. Now, you might come into the office, the social service office in Rochelle Park, and you'd see me today, but the next time you come for a follow-up or whatever, you'd see Bill, or you'd see somebody else, because they don't keep the cases the way they used to. So there's a problem I've heard from consumers that they just don't know who they're going to see, and there's no kind of consistency in their care plan that they have, and working out their needs. So that's one of the problems. Also, I was in touch with the tax office, because there are people in the Senior Freeze program and other tax programs that benefit them, which means that if they're looking for that, there could very well be other programs that they need. I was in touch with the Taub Foundation. Unfortunately, we missed their deadline for this year, but we're keeping in touch, and we're still collecting data. There are 24 towns that currently have social/human services people, or a director, we call them. Some towns are sharing services. Westwood shares with Hillsdale. Half a day Westwood, half a day Hillsdale. Park Ridge, Woodcliff Lake, and Montvale are sharing. So the hours are shared there, and that's worked out between them. Woodbridge has their own social service director, part-time. But their senior center director fills in there. So there's always somebody there, and there's a consistency there that people know it's either the one girl or the other woman. So there are a lot of things going on, and an age-friendly community is something that I'm really concerned about, because I hate to hear from an older adult in Tenafly who has lived here 50 years, paid their taxes, raised their children, go to church, have their organizations, have their friends, and then say, I can't stay here anymore. I need a little help. whatever it is, whether it's with the tax freeze, maybe they need a reverse mortgage. And going over to the senior center to do some of these things is really not what you'd call very private. And that's one of the things that I talked to Peter about, that if I want a reverse mortgage, I don't want to have to go over to the senior center and walk in with the senior center director and close the door, because everybody wants to know why the door is closed. It should be that they have a place to come, that they can sit and feel that it's private, it's their business. Who should know that I need a reverse mortgage, or I need food stamps, or I need this, or I need that? It's just, something that I think is very important in anybody's life.
Let's see if anybody else has any questions
Sure.
for you.
Hey, listen, you press a button with me and I can go on forever. I was the director of the Division of Senior Services for 20 years.
Where's this, in the county?
The county. Plus I was an aide for one of the congressmen, and I did a lot of constituent work with older adults. And it's really my passion to make sure that people are healthy.
Anybody have any? Mark?
How did you arrive at the 20 hours a week?
Because I was told that we're not hiring here full-time because of the benefit situation, and 20 hours is sort of, part-time. And it gives time each day. Say if the person worked each day 4 hours, the people would know when to come in, when that person was available, when they could make appointments. That's how I got to the 20 hours.
Do you think there's any possibility, because you mentioned other adjacent towns sharing a person of this type, that maybe we could, instead of having somebody here 20 hours, 8 or 10 hours, and give them 8 or 10 hours in Cresskill, or is there another town that you think might be? I'd be happy to reach out if you reach out and see if there's any interest in sharing somebody like this.
Well, I put in a call to Cresskill because I went through, I'm sure you all have the county directory, and I went through the county directory to see which towns had the social service directors, and they call them social/human services directors. And that's how I came up with the 24. Cresskill does have somebody.
Full-time?
Not full-time. I haven't been able to speak to her directly. But they also have a food pantry in Cresskill that the social service person takes care of as well.
Are they a function of the health department there, or they're independent?
No, it's a social/human service director. That's the way it's listed in the book. But I mean, yes, I do think there's a possibility at some point of us, trying to do that. And we're trying to make the calls. We're trying to find out the salaries. Jerry Koch is doing more research to find out what other towns are paying, so that we can have an idea about that.
Lori, is Dumont Center county run, or they run their center?
Excuse me? Dumont is town run. Town run, yes.
Town, you said, or county?
Town.
Do you have your hand up, Max?
Dumont.
Did you have your hand up?
No, I was part of the meeting, so I'm the one.
Yeah. Dumont is town run. They put up, I'm sure they got HUD money for their center, and because the center is in the housing building.
Okay.
I want to say something, it's not to ask
Who runs the
Gloria, but to support Gloria.
Housing authority.
Basically, we have a lot of seniors, and we do not know if all the seniors we have in town get the maximum benefits they deserve. Like they can get cleaning up the house and stuff like that. And somebody should basically do that inventory and go through almost every single one of them to create for them the maximum benefits that they are entitled under the law. And that would be one of the things that I think that this person can do it.
I think it's really very telling if you get a chance to look at some of the statistics. I mean, I was really kind of surprised that there were 51 households receiving food stamps. The poverty level in
Well, there-
Tenafly.
There are people.
And this is from the US Census. This is not, I didn't pull these figures out of the air. I didn't have a dream.
All right, well, Gloria, we've spent 20 minutes on this. We have
Sure.
a busy agenda. One question I'll ask Jewel or Susan, if we were decided to fund this at some level, where would this go, under the senior center? Or where would we create its own page, or?
No, it would make more sense. I mean, you can be in different locations, but I think I don't think it's very effective or very efficient to bifurcate senior services.
To
So
what?
that-
I'm sorry.
In other words, it would be under the senior center. Right.
That's
I
right.
worked in Parkridge, and they did have someone there that was a retired nurse. But when you say that the seniors are getting food stamps, she also served others who were getting food stamps too.
Oh, definitely. You see, I personally, when we were talking about this, I saw this, I envisioned this as a community services coordinator for anybody in town. Because there are other people who need, somebody loses a job and they need to know where to go to get the help they want. But the committee, because we are the mayor's senior advisory committee, thought that we should kind of focus on that area. I mean, if we wanted to spread out, I'm sure we could get the other statistics. I disagree that it should be under the senior center.
Under means, we're talking about packaging it.
Senior
For
services.
budget
For
purposes.
budget
It
purposes.
doesn't
I'm not
necessarily,
talking
doesn't
about
mean that Julie's
administration.
going to be in charge of it. Julie is the
Yeah.
director of the senior center.
Yeah, I
We have to
envision.
categorize it in some way. We're
Yeah.
not going to put it under recreation.
No, but I envision.
It has to
this
be under
person-
an existing department that's allowed under the borough code. It can't just be by itself.
So, right.
All right, so.
But I envision-
what we're going-
Susan would like to say something.
They also in Parkridge had a Triborough Foundation where there was donations that came in, and the person allocated those donations on a need basis.
Well, I think in a situation like this, a lot depends on the person that you hire. The person that you hire can take it in any one of a number of directions, hopefully all good, but maybe in a direction we're not thinking of. So I think the next job of this body is to come up with the parameters of the financing. Then we can decide what we're going to do. I will try and reach out. It's not easy to reach Ben Romeo and Kreskill, the mayor, and ask him what the situation is. If you could reach out to the person themselves, that would be helpful.
It's Carolyn Schultz.
Schulter?
Schultz.
From here, or she lives in town?
No, Carolyn Schultz, it lives in Creskill. She's a former council person up there.
Okay, well, let's see if there's room there.
But we can work on that. I just,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your taking
Thank
the
you.
time
Thank
to
you for
listen.
all,
And if there's anything else
I can
that you
imagine
need-
how much work this was.
Well, the committee, yes, we worked hard on it, and I thank Max for being there to support us. And if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we make sure that everything is a complete task. For instance, we're moving on to the seniors community service coordinator. We haven't finished with the concept of the senior transportation system. We still have no policy. We still have no program structured. We're being asked to purchase a van. And I don't want us to just keep moving along to different subjects without,
Well, I think
completing
at some point, and maybe this should be put on our next work session agenda, to discuss the overall numbers, so we can get a sense of it, because, what you've told me is we're right now at that threshold of
We're-
1.9% increase, which doesn't give us a lot of elbow room. You put pile too much more on top of it, we're gonna have to eliminate something else. And I'm not sure there's,
and we're lean.
any sense that people want to do that. So we need to fit it in, and that's something that this body will have to discuss in a timely manner, because we budget time is here. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
very
well,
much,
I
Gloria.
will consider, I will continue talking to the other towns and seeing what's
Yeah,
going on.
and communicate with us with Jewel or Max, who's it, or myself,
Sure.
and let us know what you hear. Next is the Public Officials and Employment Practices Liability Training.
This is a activity that, as you know, arises each year. Administrators, elected officials are required to have a training session on employment practices. Carol Byrne, our insurance commissioner, has obtained information, which I believe everybody's aware of at this point, that the elected officials who attend, for each elected official who attends the training, our liability insurance premium is reduced by $250.
Now, they give this class down in Atlantic City during the league, which I took. Do I need to take it again, or was that last year, or how does that work?
It is an annual. Yeah.
Each
We all
year.
have- we all have to take it every year.
And they give a discount.
Now, I believe Lizette's intent, because the way she set up the agenda was she, had the council's schedule next to this. So I believe that the idea was to find out from the council what a good date would be, and then to have follow-up with Carol to arrange for...
But if you notice, the subject matter in this email is 2015/2016. So once again, did we get credit for the fact that I took the course, and do I need to take it again in 2016?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's annual.
And
Why don't you just,
Joe,
we'll do
one
this
more
before-
question,
and-
please.
All the classes.
What's the total
That's
cost of our
2015.
insurance, so I understand how much it's saving?
Oh, 2016.
I don't know off the top of my head, but we pay over $1 million in insurance. But it's different types of insurance.
You know,
Part
saying
of that
for this
package
public
is liability.
Practice liability.
Right, you don't get
I mean, it's
A discount on the full
0.1%, 0.1% we're getting, or, I'm trying just to understand.
on
Not
the
that we
to- on
shouldn't
the-
be
on the
trained.
total you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, not that we should not get
On-
trained.
I never calculated
No,
that.
on the premium for this particular type
Yeah,
of
I mean, if we pay
insurance.
$750,000 and we get $750, we know it's 0.1%.
The discount is just an incentive.
Yeah.
Statutorily, you have to take the training is mandatory.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Do we have any proposed dates?
Your calendar is there. Typically, it has been done on, I guess, ahead of a committee of the whole, or even ahead of a council meeting, around 6:30. I think the clerk normally gets
Yeah,
sandwiches, and then
So
we
why
have
don't
the
you pick a date in
presentation.
March or April and just let us know when it's going to be?
Okay.
Next is the Elm Street easement ordinance.
That's mine.
Yes.
Yeah. This should take about 30 seconds. This is just really deals with a resident who purchased the property on Elm Street where one of the prior owners had obtained permit to build an extension on their house, an addition on their house, which comes close to and actually encroaches on our storm sewer easement. When they purchased the property, they had asked if we would consider a simple ordinance, just says if we need, and I spoke with the borough engineer, and we don't believe that the addition extends actually over the pipe. It's just into the area that is covered
Like
by.
12 feet.
Right. If we have a 15-foot easement and only the pipe's in the center, it encroaches a little bit on, just.
The pipe's
that-
right away.
Right, that if we were to have to dig up the pipe at any time in the future, that we do so, and attempt to prevent damage to their, their structure, which we would do anyway. And I indicated that I didn't see any problem with us doing that because we would have that obligation to try to avoid damage to it. It's a very simplistic.
This is not the first situation. We
We've
had
had
this like
this
on Louise
before.
Lane as well.
Right. We have a lot of properties like this, and we did actually approve the permit, some years ago, probably more than a decade ago, approved the permit to build this addition. So we should at least,
Isn't
in
that
doing that.
illegal? Though I know that somebody approved, but it's not legal.
So but
In
they
the-
should have considered that time, that as a condition of the borough issuing the permit,
Yeah.
that something be done to say, if the borough had to dig it up, we would. we would
This
do something
ordinance
like
that Bill is describing
It's
should have been created at that time.
At that time, we should have done it then.
So,
Yeah.
I see no problem with it. I had,
This is pro forma.
yeah, it's something very, very simplistic. It's drafted, and I'll
have
just put
it?
it on the agenda. I do have it. Actually, the attorney for the property owner is the administrator the borough administrator in another town. And I said to him, Greg, why don't you draft it, send it to me? I looked at it. It's perfectly fine. Very innocuous,
Yeah,
to tell you the truth.
more than 30 seconds.
Yes. Okay.
So just,
Done.
the next item is public safety communications, Jules?
Yes. If you could go to the memorandum that's linked to your page. Okay, I'm very sorry that Councilman Barzalato can't be with us this evening. As you know, this is one of those things that's, he's very, very interested in. As you have heard, we have been essentially listening and hearing the concerns of our public safety professionals. We kicked off the process of trying to meet their needs and resolve the issues they're having by reaching out to an organization called the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission. And as we explained to you, they're essentially a nonprofit group with extensive background and experience in technology services. And essentially what they provide is a service to municipalities, counties, and to state offices, which is objective, customized, and by customized, I mean that their proposal is not just a proposal, a generic proposal that someone has sent us. They gave us a free consultation. We had a 2.5-hour meeting here with all of our public safety representatives, where they first listened to what the issues were, evaluated them, discussed it with them, and they have submitted this proposal, which is based on meeting those needs and resolving the issues that they heard of. If you had an opportunity to look at the proposal, as you see, it would go much more in-depth. They would deal both with each of the individual public safety services as well as still remaining on a collective basis as well, because we have two levels of issues. We have issues that are individualistic, unique to our fire and police services, and then we also have issues that overlap with the two services, and then we have issues that also involve the Board of Education because of the fact that they are our IT network provider. So they have already had the opportunity to meet with all of these parties. I think they present themselves very well in their proposal. I think the price of $9,000 as a not-to-exceed figure for the, I guess, the level of comprehensive and customized solutions that we're going to get, I think is very reasonable. I personally have been very supportive of this effort. I've indicated in my recommendation that I feel that this is a cost that even my department should bear. We've done this before whenever we have issues of a critical and townwide nature. I think for us, the biggest concern is timing. As I've indicated, this is something that we know is an emergent issue. We would hope to essentially get started as soon as possible. The timing from an administrative perspective is very good because it does coincide with the timing of the budget process as well. We have actually, Susan and myself have even anticipated some money recommended, like an initial amount up front in the current draft of the capital so that we could deal with whatever the most pressing problems are as quickly as possible. And so
I
essentially,
think we were all aware of the need, and I believe that this proposal is certainly reasonable. We're not, on the open market, you're not gonna get the level of this proposal anywhere near this price.
And it's geared specifically to our group.
Does anybody have a problem with going ahead with this?
I have a question.
Sure.
I read this proposal very carefully, and my only question is, and it's basically, they are not a specific group that does public safety. In their proposal, they say additional information gathering, following up current or suggested vendor with their idea about meeting the requirements, consult with radio communication expert that we know who might be identified. So basically, they don't know exactly what to do, and they're gonna go out to different people. And I'm not gonna argue that they're good people. I would have been more satisfied if they were themselves experts in this area of public safety, so they don't have to learn from other people and then without understanding all the issues, because the other people are experts, having to make the decision.
I would interpret it differently. They are technology experts. What they are doing is they are acting as a buffer for our people. Because what has happened is that, you know, our guys have gone out and they have spoken to a variety of vendors. But the vendors aren't interested in understanding what their concerns or problems are. The vendors just want to sell equipment. And that's what this does. This creates a buffer so that they have people who understand, they will understand what the vendors are proposing and what the vendors are trying to sell. And they will bring back the proposed solution and a recommended package.
This group has a track record.
Yes, they do.
Okay, that's what was, you know, if they created something like that before, that is much more comfortable.
They have a track record. If you look under the references, I'm familiar
Yeah.
with Bob Hoffman.
I looked over there.
They're
So
kind of like a general contractor on a construction
Exactly.
project. right?
That's why I would have been more
But they're
comfortable to know that.
nonprofit, which is
Okay.
I do
nice.
have-
Sure.
I do have a question about the money. You indicated that you're going to make a recommendation to do some initial funding in the 2016 capital improvement budget.
Yes.
So how do we arrive at that when we're still kind of trying to figure out what we need?
We have some figures.
Okay.
But as I said before, the figures are untested and they have come from vendors. So
Okay.
we're not starting from ground zero.
You have a sense of what it could potentially be?
So you took
Correct.
like an average and tried to
Yes.
create a,
Okay. Next is Sergeant Oresco Park funding. As I mentioned to you folks last week, I would like to move this forward. When I say move it forward, we don't have a budget, we don't have a proposal, but I'd like the concept of using our local open space funding to fund this project. Now, when I say that, the next step would be to come back to this table with a budget, with a plan on what we're going to do. And in order to arrive at that plan, I would put together a small committee. I'd ask Paul to be on it, and if one other council person would like to be on it as well, to sit down with Karen Noose or her designate from the HBC and work out what we want to do with this oval.
May I suggest someone from the environmental committee as well?
yeah.
As long as they're an advocate for the program. You know, I don't want to get into a situation where somebody's sitting on a committee and doesn't want the project to move forward. Absolutely. In fact, if you would be good enough, and maybe you want to serve on the committee as well, to speak to the chairman and see if you could get a name of somebody that would like to sit on the committee.
So may I suggest something?
Sure.
Since this is gonna be a budgetary, we should not say in the beginning that we're looking at using open space funds. Let's find out how much money it's gonna take, then we'll decide where and how we're
We're
gonna.
not going to put any money in the budget for this. It's either going to come from open space or it's not going to get done.
What I'm saying, the subcommittee that's gonna be meeting should not be handicapped by the fact that it's gonna be that source of money, and people, if they are against, will just try to fight it. Should be, this is the project, let's see how much it costs.
We have close to 2.8 million in the,
I know we have the money.
we're not handicapped by it
We're
at
not
all.
handicapped.
The only
No,
don't
the
understand what you're
committee
saying.
should not be handicapped
It's not
by the fact that they have to use that source of money.
Okay, okay.
Just point out that if we're going to use open space funds, we'll have that one public hearing.
That's fine.
To use that.
That's fine, that's a good point. Okay, administrators report?
Back to the link. Okay. Budget hearing materials. That's what's in those boxes, and you'll be able to take those nice big books home with you this evening.
There'll be a quiz on Monday.
And as you know, our first hearing will be on Saturday, February 6th, right here, beginning at 9 a.m.
And it was part of the most important part of the budget hearing. Who's bringing the donuts this, we normally spread it around.
I'll bring it the first time.
Yeah, I'll do bagels on the Saturdays.
Okay, so you got that part resolved? And a copy of the full schedule is in your book. Public safety and communications upgrade we talked about. I essentially included this in my memo as well, just to give you a heads up on what we were proposing and recommending. The next is the borough telephone system upgrade. As you know, we had the presentation and discussion, really more so, with the Board of Education and their technical consultant. One of the questions put to them was to provide a little more information regarding the functionality. So you do have, I think, a few pages which provide that information. This is from the Board of Education's RFP. And as you recall from the discussion, what we're looking at is to prepare a similar technical document for the borough. We don't have an RFP at this point, and that's what we were seeking authorization to do, would be to enter into contract through the Board of Education for our RFP to be prepared. And as you know, that would be an alternate under the larger RFP that the board plans to put out in either late February or early March. They are basically concluding their preparation of the board's technical documents, and they are hopeful of actually being here, being on site here as of February 10th. So they're geared up and basically just waiting for us to have the authorization to proceed.
Will the DPW building be ready for the upgrade? Well, not the upgrades, but they'll be wired accordingly?
Yes, yes, and that was one of the things that they needed to know, because that was very important.
Okay, I have a question too. Based on this proposal, they are looking to have about 294 the standard sets of telephones with additional buttons and everything else.
Well, you're talking about the Board of Education?
Yeah, I read the proposals.
I understand, but I'm not a party to
No,
the Board of Education
let me finish and you feel
proposal.
party.
Okay,
The addition, we have two ways that we ask for the proposal. One is that the borough be part of the total RFP, and one is separate. When we have the total RFP for the common, what we would like to understand is, we know that for us, in a separate proposal, the cost per unit was about $1,500. Yet, what is the cost per unit right now in their proposal for 294 sets? Because when we are part of their extensions, we should be able to get the same prices as they are getting. And as a matter of fact, if we're gonna use their servers and everything else, or we're just gonna be a software partition, our cost will be even cheaper. Because
unit, right.
per unit, we're not gonna have to. So those are things that are important in the
okay,
future
I'll
RFP.
obtain that information from them, for the
Good point.
boards.
I have a question about just the operating system. So if the internet and cable systems all go down and they're destroyed, do we still have the ability to make phone calls through
Yeah.
landline systems, or how does that work?
I think they indicated that the T1s will not be removed.
I think
So-
phase one, didn't they say phase one?
Yeah, phase one, we
was going to
don't
be-
take the trunks
Right,
down.
right.
It's only internally becomes IP. So there is no internet connection that would facilitate that. It's, the trunks have to go down, all of them, and I'm sure they are in a hunting sequence, so if one goes down, goes to the other, and stuff like that. So it's not an internet connection that we're gonna stop.
We'll
But
make it a
internet
budget
connection internally might stop the communication between different sets.
So my question is more of,
No.
5 years, 5 years from now, if the system goes down, we'll still be able to use the old
The old-fashioned
right.
one.
Yes.
That's what my question
And
is.
follow-up question.
Thank
So I'm looking at the graph where they break down what the high school needs. They need 110 standard,
Yeah.
they need the wall things, conference room phone. Do we have a breakdown of what we need?
This is what they'll be preparing for us.
Okay.
We don't have this level of detail yet, and believe me, this is just a few pages from a 72-page document.
Gotcha.
So we're looking to catch up.
Right.
They're
And
ahead of
part
us
it,
right
obviously,
now.
like, we need a conference phone blah over there, blah, blah, blah
Yeah.
over here.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
And they'll also be including the senior center as well. So
Okay.
Good.
first time we'll be
Senior center,
unified.
DPW, police, everything.
Everything.
Okay.
Let's see here. Fireworks proposals. As we indicated, we did request 3 quotes. Previously, we had been, 3 is preferable. We had identified 2 firms in the past. Last year, we were fortunate enough to have 3 firms respond, but this year, the 3rd firm that we had picked up last year did not respond. I've basically laid out the, I guess, the result of our review of the proposals and our recommendation. As I indicated, there was some information that was provided by one of the vendors, which I believe was characterized in a way to give them a competitive advantage, but basically it was based on very flimsy and very...
Flashlights? No, doesn't work, the flashlights?
Well, I think they meant in terms of flashes, but it was not a part of the proposal. It was something that was off on the side, in parentheses, and then added to the bottom line, which was very, I considered it quite bogus.
Well, in any case,
Precise.
the shows have been, each year has been better.
Better and
Good.
better,
Great.
very nice.
And there is no
Very nice.
differential in the price.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the fireworks are getting very cheap, they're coming from China now, so that's the
And then
advantage.
the last update was just to answer the questions that have been raised with regard to the teen center and the use of hoverboards in, near and around that portion of the municipal complex. As we indicated, the teen center director indicated that he has already imposed a ban, essentially, on that.
For better or worse, he's not here all of the time. Do we need to pass an ordinance or a resolution so that we can put some signage?
We don't
Hoverboard
need-
should be banned from the parking lot, the sidewalks around the parking lot, Peace Plaza, that whole area. because it's a-
Right. My impression was we were going to revisit that portion of the borough code because we don't feel as though it's really as comprehensive as it should be in general.
If we're putting into the code, it would be an ordinance.
An amendment to an ordinance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, an ordinance, amendment to an ordinance is an
In your
ordinance.
spare time, would you take a look at that and make a proposal?
Yeah, but we have to decide exactly what we're going to include in it, because it wouldn't necessarily just be hoverboards. I think we could handle skateboards to the extent that.
And bikes.
Bicycles.
Well, maybe we could find a similar ordinance somewhere else that the verbiage fits us.
Yeah, because it's not spelled out as clearly as it could be at this point.
Okay.
And it's very interesting because
We'll be the first ones.
it does allow 6-year-olds to ride bicycles on the sidewalks if they're accompanied by an adult, so that's good to know.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Joel.
Thank you.
Let's go to correspondence. Is there any interest in passing a similar resolution to the one from Moonaki in opposition to the price increase, which I'm sure,
It's huge.
what used to be United Water is now Suez?
I think
Sure
we
that-
should.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
I think so too.
Anne Marie, please. Okay. Next is a request for a pod, which is standard procedure. The building department is not able to approve this permit because of the location, and there is no other location due to the nature of the property, so anybody have a problem?
What was it, 60 or 90 days?
90 days.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
90 days.
Right, like usual.
And the last one is a compliment from Udo's. Considering how often he yells at me, it's really a good thing to hear that he's pleased with the way the snow was removed. But I think this is we also had I got one today in an email that I haven't had an opportunity to look at. But I think a resident complimented the DPW. I think we were blessed with fairly good timing. The storm was on a Saturday, and it was so bad that people stayed off the roads, which gave our guys a chance. The downside was they were out for so many hours on Saturday that they really had a hard time getting it together on Sunday. So a lot of secondary stuff didn't get done until Monday. They did a great job downtown on Monday night, Tuesday night. And considering the amount of snow that was there, they really did a great job.
And if we're talking about the snow, we have something on the snow under the good of the business, but maybe I'll bring it up now. I had received an email from a gentleman that basically was asking for his street to be cleaned, and I didn't respond very, very timely to it. And by the time I respond, he basically called back and said that, to be clear, DPW was very responsive. They cleared up the street later this morning. Thank you for your hard work, Max, and stuff like that.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Very nice.
I got the call the same time. I was out, and I called this is a specific place where our primary goal is to clear the street, and because of the layout of the geography of the corner, it always requires somebody to come back a second time, which is, by the time I spoke to our DPW director, he said the truck is all the way up, on the way up there already, and I turned around and went up there, it was done.
Yeah,
So I'm sure the resident was very pleased.
Yeah, exactly. So we got very, very clear. So, something that it's always good to know that the complaint can always get turned into a compliment if you respond on time.
Well, there are a number of places in town that the DPW is aware of, and Bob Culvert is really on top of them. There's a cul-de-sac up on Dogwood Lane. There's a circle there, and they push the snow, and it always ends up in front of a guy's driveway, and they go back a second time and clear the driveway, believe me. So they have a pretty good handle on it.
I read a small article, I forget which site, but the county was offering extra bodies and equipment. I don't know if Bob took up on any of that. I think, do we have the heating thing? Or did we take,
The snow melter?
yeah, or is that
No,
Englewood?
we don't have one.
There was something Bob took responsibility over. I forget what the name of the equipment was. But Englewood uses a snow melter for their downtown as well.
Well, yeah, but that's a very, very expensive piece of equipment.
Yes, it is.
Now, when the county offers these services, is it at no cost, or do you pay for them?
No cost.
Oh.
I think Maywood, Hackensack, obviously. What other town was up there? Rochelle Park. They just had extra crew and extra guys, I guess, and they just sent them out to random places. Apparently.
When you get something like that, forward it either to Jewel or Bob. Sometimes they don't see it. Usually they do.
We'll do.
I wanted to bring something up for the good of the order, but we'll wait. The same, similar thing.
Okay. We're there.
With that,
We're there? No,
can
we
do
have
old business,
resolutions.
new business,
Well,
resolutions.
anybody have any comments on the resolutions? Okay, then let's go for the good of the order.
Okay, the good of the order, there are two things that when we discussed DPW, we had a few issues all the time because we have people that are on leave or because they are on disability and stuff like that. There was a suggestion that we should have a list of additional people that in case that we need, we can call so we don't get so short-handed because the disability is paid by the disability. It's basically we have the money, and this way we will not be caught always short-handed because we have so many people in disability. And we can make the list and call on demand for that additional jobs. The other one was,
How does it, I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
How would that work with union contracts?
they have to be
hiring?
union people. They have to be part-time union people.
Well, if you go out and hire people,
You don't have to, it's part-time, you call them for a day.
well, you still have to pay them.
Yes, absolutely, but we have the money because
What makes you
those
say
people
we have
that
the
are, because people that are on leave or because they paid by the state, So the,
No, we don't have that form.
No.
They're paid 100%.
They're paid out of, they get their
A
salaries.
regular
Right.
budget salary.
That's a contractual, there's different ways of structuring workers' comp. We're not structured in that fashion.
all right, then that's something that we have to do next time to make sure that if they're out of work, they go on the state.
Well, we'll put you in charge of negotiations.
I'll be very glad to do so. I'm doing that right now. So the next thing is, we discussed, one of the things that we discussed when we met Board of Health was that we need a very formal program whereby, you put it in the mailing over here, whereby the seniors are held by a group of high schools or so for snow removal or for getting their garbage out when it's snowing or ice or so, because they cannot do that. Any other towns, they mentioned a few towns that basically the school, part of their activities, create a locations on their web where the students have already signed up, and the seniors can go on that one and say, I need help on this one. So it's already formalized, and it's not that, they have to, who I call and stuff like, it's a formal location where they get, and they get assigned immediately something. So when we get these joint meetings with the school,
Joint use.
yeah, can we just make sure that we ask them if they can implement a program like that, so our seniors can get help when they need, and it's for garbage, or they can get some people even need help to move something and stuff like that. There is a list over there made, and they apply, and somebody gets assigned, and they immediately get that help.
Let me bring you up to date on that, okay? First of all, as many of you recall, going back 5 or 8 years ago, I started the snow shoveling program for seniors, and I took a list of people. This was publicized in the newsletter. I had a list of people that needed help, and when there were snowstorms, I turned to the schools and the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts were actually a much better resource than the schools. This past snowstorm, on Thursday or Friday, since the snowstorm is being predicted to be a nightmare, I did reach out to the schools, the superintendent of schools, and suggested that maybe she could publicize this and supply me with a list of names. The concern on their end was liability, and the end result was they did not participate, but I did have the scouts available. For better or worse, I only had one resident call, and they were willing to pay for it, and they were able to get a contractor to do it. So it is a good idea, and I'm hoping that if we ever get to where Gloria wants to take us, that office may have a little bit more luck. I know the scouts are very, very willing to participate, and I think that's the direction we should go.
Well, if we go back to the school and discuss, other schools have found a way to pass this issue with liabilities. And if other schools have found that way, I'm sure the Tenafly Board of Ed is as smart as the other people, and they can do the same thing like other people.
I would
So
do
then
that.
we can basically have it formalized. They don't have to call you to figure
No,
out if
you're
they're...
right.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're right.
Those are the two things.
Okay, great.
Pete,
Yeah,
one thing, but we done with the good order, I just want to do
Now
one
it's-
old business thing,
it's no longer good, it's just for the order.
just for the order. Just to let the mayor and council know, we've got our ad hoc recreation center committee meeting scheduled for February 25th at 7:30. We're going to do it here in the Wilson Committee Room. I'm going to be sending emails out shortly to the members of the committee to get everyone here for that.
Good.
And we want that to be publicized on the town web.
Joe,
Should be on the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Unless there's anything else, you want to read the closed session?
Resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the mayor and council, the borough of Tenafly will go into closed session, discuss the following collective bargaining matters. One's just going to be an update on our contract negotiations, and the second is going to be a matter related to longevity and the PBA. Minutes will be taken of this meeting and released to the public at the time the matter is resolved. After this closed session, the mayor and council reconvene in this Richard D. Wilson Committee Room to adjourn this
public meeting.
Thank you. A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll finish up tonight with a closed session.